Hello, and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers with whatever writing ailments you might have.
Whether it's related to your craft or your career, we can help.
Are you ready for your session?
The doctors are in. Happy holidays, Roshni.
Oh my gosh, we are in December already. Where did the year go?
Yeah. Did you get any good deals on Black Friday? Like any cool buys, any cool presents for the family or anything?
I did buy some stuff during Black Friday. I was actually working a lot of Black Friday, like that weekend, so I wasn't online as much as I could have been. But I did notice this year that there were a lot of good sales for writers.
Writing deals. Oh, I
writing
didn't
deals,
think of that.
Yeah. So 'tis the season. This was the time. And I feel like they started the sales early and extended them late. So who knows, maybe they'll bring them back around mid-December. I have no idea, but
They're still going on. A lot of times Black Friday is just when it starts.
They were running them as early as Wednesday.
Yeah.
Before. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I do know I got emails from Final Draft. I always get emails from Final Draft. I'm still on Final Draft 10 and they're up to 12 and their discount on the upgrade. Let me check real quick. It's like, normally it's $100. Now it's like 65. So not bad. I personally never feel like I need to upgrade. Like I use all the basic functions and they work great for me. So I'm like, why do I need to upgrade? But if you want to upgrade or somebody you know is wanting to upgrade, it's a pretty good deal.
I'll be honest, because I haven't been writing scripts lately. So I haven't been using anything but like, I think the last time I wrote a script, I used Thailand, which is free. Yeah.
Do you use a writing program for your books? Do you have a specific book writing program?
I do like Google Docs. There's a lot of functionality in Google Docs, but I switched to Atticus midsummer, and I really like them because you can design your books in the program as well. And so before I still am with Draft to Digital, but I was using Draft to Digital's functionality for designing the interior. And I like this because it's kind of all in one space. So that means everything looks uniform. And it's actually a lot easier because this is getting into the weeds now about marketing, but I've started going direct with my books versus going through an aggregator. So some of my books are not through Draft to Digital anymore. They are direct with like Amazon or direct with Kobo, in which case I would have had to make my own inside design anyway. So it's a nice program. It's a nice all-in-one. But a lot of people swear by, oh golly, what's the name of it? I think it's called Vellum is the name of the program.
That sounds
They
cool.
swear by that one. And that one, I've seen the books that one's turned out. That one's a really nice program as well.
Oh, that's right. You told me you went to a con and you actually were selling your books to people, like talking to them and everything. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was my first convention as an author. And my first time running a booth, because I've been to conventions before, but usually as an attendee, or we went that one year when we had our film in the film festival, so as a panelist. And this time as a vendor, it was very different. It was a lot of fun. This was a smaller convention. I know in years past, there are usually about 1,000 people. I'm not sure how many people came through this time around because I'm sure their numbers took a hit with the pandemic. So I'm guessing probably like in the 500 to 800 range. But again, I also wasn't really like running around. I was basically at my booth the whole time. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun to interact with people. And, everyone was wearing great costumes and just, yeah. And also because it was Thanksgiving weekend, like trying to get there was at LAX. It was so easy.
Oh, yeah. Always nice on the holidays. In LA, everyone leaves LA for the holidays for the most part and goes home to visit family.
Oh, it was just so nice. It was so easy to get around, yeah.
Cool. I'm glad that worked out well for you. So look for Roshni at more conventions in the future.
I do plan on doing more in 2024, for sure. I probably won't take it on the road like I used to do my albums, just because I'm lazy. I don't feel like piling everything in a car and driving cross country. So I'll probably stick local. There is one that I will be flying to in the spring. And other than that, it's all going to be LA.
Cool. So besides buying your books to give to all our family and friends, what other ideas do you have for holiday gift giving for writers this year?
Oh man. I feel like we do have to apologize to our listeners because in years past, and maybe we were looking in the wrong spots, I did not realize how many Black Friday deals there were for writers. I mean, seriously, like every program I use, from marketing to, drafting to what have you, was all on sale over Black Friday weekend. And some of the deals were, really good. Like I was looking at one plotting program that was heavily discounted. I ended up not buying it, but I did suggest it to my bosses. And then the program I currently use had like you buy it for full price, but you get like an extra thing that I didn't get. So some of the deals I'm like, okay, it's not a huge deal that I missed it, but it's amazing how many deals there were for writers this time around. And I thought, wow, like we should have done a holiday thing prior to
We probably should have done it
Black
before
Friday.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah. But we couldn't have known. We couldn't have known what was going to be discounted,
It seems like, the discounts were fast and furious. And my email box was just exploding with all kinds of things. I took advantage of Adobe for you filmmakers out there and designers and designing your posters in Photoshop or doing your film editing or your soundtrack editing in Audition. Creative Cloud is on sale. At least it was for Black Friday. Maybe it'll still be going on. If you get because it's a subscription service, you pay I was paying like $55 a month for the whole package, like all of Adobe's apps and services. And if you go in during the holidays, even like I actually had to cancel mine, and then they offer you the it's like $35 of tax per month. It's for the whole year. So you save like $20 a month for the whole year. That's $240. So that's a big savings. So,
and especially for a subscription, I was reading something also over the weekend about how subscription boxes are sort of going to the wayside.
Oh, box gift. Oh, those get a box every month of like snacks from Japan or anime stuff
across all things. They were saying like food, for example, is probably still going to be good, but in general, like subscription boxes where it's like sample. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something non-perishable. Sample clothing or sample shoes or ones. They're saying that with the economy the way it is. And also you get stuff in there that you're like, I don't need, if like say a pen subscription, I don't need half of these pens. I won't use them. So people are beginning to drop them, the subscription box model. And so people are just getting tired of subs, they were saying. And I thought that was really interesting.
I saw a new one, which is completely unrelated to writing, but it was like for like an oven, like some special oven. And the oven's usually $250, like a desk countertop convection oven. It's usually about $250. They were selling it for $50, and you had to buy so many of the meals that they send you prepared, like on like a meal service thing, like a Blue Apron kind of thing. But it's not just the food; it's the oven to cook them in too, which I thought was kind of weird.
Oh, interesting. But then, like, if you cancel early, do you have to send the oven back or something?
No, I think you keep the oven.
Huh, interesting.
I think you do. Yeah, I mean, their goal is to get you hooked on their service, so you'll keep buying it, but. It's kind of like printers. The printers are cheap. The ink is expensive.
Yeah, right. And hey, even those have subscriptions now. But yeah, it was an interesting article about just how people are kind of subbed out and we're sick of it, So I thought that was interesting.
I took advantage on the streamer side. I took advantage of the Paramount Plus had a discount instead of, it's usually like about $10 a month for Paramount Plus, which I get only because it's the home of Star Trek on streaming. But they had a special for, I think it was $350 or something, $350 a month for 3 months. So I canceled that and then resubscribed with the deal. And in 3 months, I'll figure out what I'm going to do again.
But I mean, do you binge that or do they release stuff weekly?
No, we won't. It's because of my mom. My mom's a big Star Trek fan. So we watch Star Trek every day pretty much while we have dinner. So we've gone through a couple different shows and it's her thing. And we have to do the non-commercial one because she doesn't like to watch the commercials. So I pay for it. It's kind of one of my gifts to my mother.
I feel like in the future, at least for the next few years, to me, that would be what a subscription is. Like if I get a subscription, it's probably because someone bought it for me or like I gave it to someone. Because even like going back to the writing programs and stuff, I turned one of them down, even though it had a good sale, because I'm like, I don't want to pay a subscription fee. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the writing program I bought was a one-time fee, which that's why I was like, I'm fine paying that
Mm.
because it's a lifetime software license versus like, here's $100 again for. I actually have very few software subscriptions. In fact, I don't think I have any because I just don't like that
Yeah.
idea.
I know. I used to buy the Adobe Creative Cloud suite every time they upgraded, and it was like hundreds of dollars. I think the suite was 600 to 1,000, and then every time you upgrade was another 300 or 400. So I feel like it's kind of worth it in that case because it's continually being upgraded and improved, and they have so many apps now for all different kinds of creative tools that and I write it off as a business expense. So it feels like it's really that kind of thing's worth it to me. I know people like to like own their software sometimes, and I do feel that way about some of the things I use, but in this case, I think Adobe's worth it. Don't talk about it too much because some of like Final Draft will probably go subscription, and we'll all be upset then. Because
Well, I
I'm
mean,
still using a
it pretty
2-year-old
much
version.
is, though. I was going to say it pretty much is because every time they update it, you're basically paying for the full thing again.
Yeah, and you have to watch out because I hear things like rumors of them deactivating older versions at some point, like kind
Ouch.
of forcing you to upgrade. I don't know if that's legal or not, but
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful with your shopping and your money out there. There's lots of offers and deals, so check them out. We'll put some links in the notes. Anyway, otherwise, in more holiday ideas, I was thinking about writing a Christmas film. Have you ever written a Christmas film or a holiday film, I should say?
What's funny is, oh my gosh, the years are blurring together. It was during the pandemic. I was actually pitching a film to a friend of mine who worked at, it wasn't like Hallmark, but it was that kind of
Like cable
freeform
kind of thing?
Hallmark, that kind of feeling of a type acquisition firm. And I was pitching rom-coms, and I remember it was interesting. She came back to me and said, they love this idea. Can we make it Christmas?
Yeah,
And
there
I
you go.
forget now because the pitch ended up dying, and I'll be honest, I didn't pursue it that hard. Um, I think we did switch it to Christmas, and then I forget what happened. I think the problem was it was too similar to something they already had in their pipeline, which I was like,
Yeah.
well, at least it means I'm on the right track. You know what I mean? I'm getting the same ideas,
Can't
other people
imagine.
are.
I can't imagine. It's so hard to write a Christmas movie that hasn't been done before because there's so many of them now. I mean, with your Hallmarks and your Freeforms and your
Well,
Tubies and everything
here's the
else.
thing though. There's a difference between the focus is Christmas and Christmas is in the background.
Mm,
Mine wasn't the focus is Christmas. Mine
right.
was the focus is something else, and it just happened to be the Christmas season.
Ah, yeah. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Die Hard. People call Die Hard a Christmas movie.
I mean, just because it's set at Christmas, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So, and I think that was one of the notes was like I needed to incorporate more Christmas in it. I'm like, well, Christmas isn't really the focus of this thing, but that's fine. But yeah, there is definitely a difference between a movie about Christmas, which is like all your Hallmark slate, versus a movie that just happens to have the holiday season as the backdrop.
Yeah. Well, actually, I found a great article on industrialscripts.com called Writing Christmas Films and Navigating the Holidays, the Ultimate Guide. Ooh, ultimate. And they actually go through all the different types of Christmas movies, including things like horror holiday, holiday adventure, animated holiday,
Hmm.
musical holiday, dark comedy holiday. So they go through all the different genres and talk about how they're all unique. And then they get into what are the key Christmas elements you have to put into a Christmas film.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so if
And
I'll
I
put that link in the show notes if anyone wants to
I
check it
will
out.
say before we really like deep dive into holiday script writing, it is lucrative. I do know from my days in the music industry, if you had a hit Christmas song, even though it only plays for like a month and a half out of the entire year, you make bank. Look at
Oh
Mariah
yeah.
Carey's All I Want for Christmas, right? Like if you have a Christmas song that gets heavy rotation, you make bank more than like if you just had a hit song in general. So I'm sure it's the same thing with films and TV shows, even though it's only for that like 2-month period, it's played ad nauseum, you make bank.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mariah is probably if she never does another song again, she'll probably still have plenty of money from All I Want for Christmas Is You, right?
Oh yeah. Did you see I think it was the Grammys, and they like, it was funny. It was like right after Halloween. They had this cute little video. It was like they're thawing her out and she's like, "It's time," and they're playing
Yeah,
the jingle in the background, just like the instrumental part, because
yeah.
it's so like everybody associates it now with Christmas so heavily.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it's the same thing. I used to watch back when it was ABC Family, and now it's Freeform, and they would just play Christmas movies like nonstop starting around Thanksgiving, and I loved it. I loved the cheesy, movies, and so I'd watch them. And I think there was one. It was like the 12. What was it called? The 12 Dates of Christmas. It was like Mark Paul
Hmm.
Gosselaar, and I forgot who the woman was. I remember the premise. It was something like she gets spritzed with perfume, gets knocked out, and relives the same date over and over, right? And I remember it because they played it like at least 5 slots every day. And if you just put on the Christmas, movies, you just see it all the time. So like that was the one they had in heavy rotation. So
Yeah.
yeah, like they'll
I think
get
there's even a channel on
royalties.
like Tubi or Pluto TV that all they do for the next month is run the Christmas story, like a Christmas story all day, every day. It's kind of like,
I'm sure those actors are happy for it.
I'm
You know what
sure
I
they
mean?
are. The royalties are, get those pennies.
All right, so Tom, what would you put in your Christmas film?
What would I was actually, it's funny because when I was thinking of brainstorming, I actually went to, we talk about AI a lot. I went to this new AI I've been playing with called Pi.ai, and it's a little different than like Chat GTP because it feels more conversive. In fact, you can pick different voices and it actually reads what it writes to you. So it's almost like you're talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little more conversive. And I threw some ideas at it and was trying to, brainstorm where would be a unique place to put it, where would be, who would the protagonist be. And it seemed to give me a lot of canned kind of cliche kind of things. There were some interesting ideas, but it did spur my own ideas. But then I decided, let's go the traditional route, and I just Googled it and found a good article called 7 Essential Elements of a Great Holiday Movie. It's from Screencraft. It's a really great idea to like really get your ideas together and figure out what you want to put in your movie. So the first element is nostalgia. So think about all the movies, like we just talked about A Christmas Story. That's probably like 99% nostalgia of a Christmas movie, right?
Well, but that's nostalgia because I mean, now that's from like, what was it set, like the 1940s?
Right.
When was it written
It's
again?
told in the past. It's about an adult talking about his youth as a child around the
When
holidays.
did it come out though? Was it 80s or was it
It was in the
before?
80s. I'm
In
pretty
the
sure it was in the
80s? Okay.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, that movie is so well beloved because everyone thinks about all the things in that movie that make you remember your childhood. The playing in the snow, the BB gun, the weird presents, the relatives and those sorts of things. And what it was like to be a child around Christmas and wanting to, make sure you're good so you get Christmas Santa comes, and going to the mall and sitting on Santa's lap. I mean, that thing wraps up so much nostalgia. It's overflowing with it. So
I
that's
was
number
just
one.
thinking like what would be nostalgia now cuz we're in, the 2020s.
Jeez.
Nostalgia would now be like 70s, 80s.
Well, I would think of like Christmas Vacation would be like one of the big nostalgia movies for me because that was in the 80s, wasn't it? With Chevy Chase.
Well, no, I'm thinking more like elements. Like
Ah,
kids today probably wouldn't be like, let's go to the mall and sit on Santa's lap because I don't even know if malls are around. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I'm trying to think of what
there
nostalgic
are a
elements
few,
you'd put
but
in a current movie now.
oh gosh, that's a good question.
I know we're both stumped.
Dead air, yeah. The actual
What? Like what
opening
would you
of
do?
presents, because I find it
Yeah.
hard when giving presents because they're all digital nowadays. So the idea of wrapping something and giving it to them is so alien. Plus, a lot of my friends and family are not local, so it's all done digitally over, you know, e-gift cards and things. So the idea
Mhm.
of actual sitting down and unwrapping presents, I can't remember the last time I unwrapped a present, to be honest. So that's pretty
Yeah.
nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I just had to go on that tangent there because I'm like, well, if the
No, it's
80s and 90s are considered nostalgia now at this point, but
hmm
yeah, like, I mean, to our generation, sitting on Santa's lap makes sense, but give it like 20 years and they'll probably be like, mall? What's a mall? You
why
know?
would I sit on some weird guy's lap?
Exactly. Like, that's
Exactly.
weird. Huh,
Santa's
that's
not at the
funny.
mall. Santa's on TV all the time now.
I mean, one thing that you can say about holiday films, no matter the genre, is they're very tropey and they lean
Mm.
into those tropes. Like if you think about I mean, and I know, like, for example, there's a great SNL sketch that makes fun of like Hallmark tropes, but it's true. It's always like big city girl who doesn't have time for romance and she's quirky, goes back to small town, meets small town hometown hunk, and learns the true spirit of Christmas
Yep.
and slowing down, and saves the town from big corporate nameless entity who wants to turn it into soulless whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could just like they write themselves.
Yeah. That's number 5 on the list, actually. Holiday tropes and cliches. Yep. Good
Oh,
call.
I hit number 5.
You
What's
got number
2 through
5 on the
4?
list. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's actually, and it's actually something that people embrace because that's the thing. That kind of also speaks to the nostalgia, is that's the kind of stuff that people embrace in holiday movies because they feel like if you don't have that in your movie, it's not a holiday movie.
Well, I think also the holidays, like, no matter where people are coming from, whether or not you celebrate them, whether or not they're, happy or sad for you, there's something about the holiday season starting from like, and I would say it starts as soon as September, back to school through like New Year's, right?
Hmm.
I love this time of year. And like, there's something about that back half of the year that makes you feel like you want comfort, you want cozy, you want the tropes because they're familiar, you want the nostalgia because it's like, this is how it should have been. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you want those things. And so you don't care that it's tropey up the wazoo and it would like never happen, like you still want that. It's
Yeah.
just, there's something about it.
Hmm. Yep. That kind of goes to number 4, which is atmosphere. So
Mm.
the Christmas lights, the decorations, the mall, all those things, the shopping, they mentioned things like, Jingle All the Way, or Schwarzenegger has to go find the perfect toy, that kind of stuff. So, and there's always music and there's lights, and it's just, that holiday atmosphere, which kind of gives everyone a good feeling. The magic, which is number 2.
I like how we're not going in order.
Well, you kind of jumbled it for me there by
Sorry.
you picked number 5. That's okay. Yeah. So one was nostalgia. 2 is magic. So and that kind of, when I like to write science fiction, that's where you always get to put that one little thing in that's kind of out there that people will accept even in a fairly grounded movie. If you throw in one little thing, you can kind of get away with that. So people like that. It's part of the season kind of thing. Then 3 was family, which is important. Usually most Christmas stories are about family, either being with family, getting back to family, getting away from family, just hating your family, loving your family, whatever it is. There's always some sort of family aspect to it, right? Even Die Hard, it's all about John McClane trying to save his estranged wife
Is that your favorite
from
Christmas
terrorists.
movie?
No,
Die
it's
Hard?
not. It's just always. I'm just using it as a contrast because even though it's Die Hard, it's still technically got family in it, and it's a
Yeah.
Christmas movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And what else did I miss? We talked about that. Hope. Hope is the last. Not Hope and redemption are the last 2 items on their list, which are kind of go together. So, things like, Scrooge has to, redeem himself, otherwise he's going to have that horrible future. Or It's a Wonderful Life. With everyone coming to the rescue and saving, George Bailey in the end from his ruin. And basically it's a suicide movie. So yeah, so hope and redemption. So if you've got those things, then you might have a pretty decent Christmas movie.
You might have a
You
pretty
might.
decent Christmas movie. That was really funny.
Yeah.
But we're missing something very important, which is if you're writing your Christmas movie now, you have to think about it for next year.
It's
Most
for
of these
next
things
year.
probably get made in the summertime, honestly.
Yeah.
So for a Christmas film, you have a long lead time.
Yeah. Too late now, but yeah. if you've got a couple in the bank, they're kind of like we've talked about, they're kind of evergreen, so to speak, because people are always making Christmas movies every year. So it's not a bad thing to have in your portfolio, because there's always a need for more holiday movies, every year. Yes, they show the old ones over and over again, but they're always looking for that next magical, kind of classic, instant, modern classic.
And what's funny? I don't know if your article touched on this. There's always a lot of Christmas movies and Halloween movies. And even for other holidays, Valentine's Day for sure. There's a little bit on New Year's. I think there was one that I can think of a few years ago, an ensemble one that was like, eh. Not a lot of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's a little tricky. There were a couple turkey movies. There was I can't remember the animated movie. There was not Turkey Run, was it called? Yeah, where the turkeys go back in time to try to change Thanksgiving into a pizza holiday.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was great. Yeah, turkeys in a time machine.
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think there hasn't been a successful Thanksgiving movie?
Why was there no Thanksgiving Vacation movie, right?
Well, I mean, Thanksgiving is too short for people to take a vacation, but I mean, there's a lot you could do around the holiday. Obviously, you've got the family trope of like everybody, regathering, hometown. Thanksgiving is usually a time when people go back to their hometown, and I think it's like, what is it? The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is like the biggest bar night of the year. You could totally do something with that.
Yeah.
If you guys do, give us credit. But like, seriously, there's always, Black Friday, you could do stuff with that. Like, there's so much around those like 4 or 5 days, but nobody's really done anything with it.
Right. Unless they're like having Thanksgiving and then the Christmas season starts.
Yeah. And then it's like a lead into Christmas for sure.
It's time to put the tree up, everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But there's never just like a Thanksgiving movie. And I don't know if that's because, I mean, yes, you do get, in theory, if you wrote a film that started December 1st, like a romance or something, you do have like 20 some days for the characters to like fall in love. So I get that you have like a longer lead time.
Yeah.
But like, people have Halloween movies all the time, like Hocus Pocus, that took place on one night. So why can't you have something that takes place on one day? I don't know. They're just, for some reason, Thanksgiving, I guess, is just not a good film market or something.
I think they're just hidden in other things. I think Thanksgiving happens in a lot of movies because it's a time of year that comes and goes, but it's just never the main subject of the movie.
But isn't Thanksgiving weekend a big box office? Thanksgiving and Christmas. Aren't those big box office?
It is, because that's when they launch a lot of the Christmas movies.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess you'd have to do a Thanksgiving movie at Halloween, right, to launch it.
Around the holidays is when they launch all the big, they're not Christmas movies, they're more like the big blockbuster movies that they want the big audiences, because people are off of work and off of school and they have money from the holidays, so they go to the movies more. So there's just a lot of money to be had. Plus, you want to get in all your last minute Oscar contenders come out around the holidays, because they want to slip them in as close to the end of the year as they can, because that way they're fresh in the minds of the voters in the spring.
Yeah, but they also don't really do New Year's films.
There have been some.
I mean, I can only think of one.
They're kind of more rom-com-y, because they're always like the want to be with your significant other on New Year's Eve kind of thing.
I guess I'm just thinking in terms of holidays. If you looked at the calendar year, you get Valentine's Day movies, you get like maybe a movie set in spring, you might get a summer movie, like a summer vacation type movie, maybe 4th of July, not really. Not really back
St.
to
Patrick's
school.
Day. Got all those Leprechaun movies.
Yeah, I guess that one. I don't really think
series of movies.
There was like leap year, or whatever for romance. But honestly, St. Patrick's isn't really touched.
Yeah.
Then you come into September, you don't really get like Labor Day. You don't really get like back to school. You might get like a school, like Mean Girls, right? But that took you through the whole school year, right? So you get that. You definitely have Halloween movies. Not really Thanksgiving, and
there's
you definitely
quite
have
a lack of Purim movies, I feel. Purim's just getting left off the movie chart for some reason. No, not a good Purim joke. Okay, never mind.
I mean, I
Yeah,
there's I can think of some biblical movies related to it.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if
maybe.
VeggieTales Esther really is what you were thinking of, but
Yeah,
okay, you know.
yeah,
But other than having that religious theme, there's not like a movie just happened to be set around that time.
yeah. It took Adam Sandler to make a Hanukkah movie. Actually,
Was that animated? I
it
can't
was
remember.
eight crazy nights. I think it was it
Yeah.
called. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. It's just funny because I'm thinking now about the slate of things that you see in a year, and there's definitely a lot of holes as far as holidays, and there's more holidays for sure, you
Oh
know.
well, yeah. I think we should do like a go through that list of national holidays and National Beer Day, and let's make a movie about that. It's an
That would
endless
probably
supply
do
of
really well.
ideas. It's an endless
Yeah, that would
supply of
probably do
ideas.
really
Yeah,
well.
there's a
But
holiday for
yeah.
everything at some point, but I get what you mean. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think we should just wish everyone a happy holiday, and thanks for listening. We'll see you in the new year.
Thank you so much for spending your 2023 with us.
Yeah, have a great one.